Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Translate Relate. I'm Becky, that one's Jenna, and today we are talking about two different elements of TA, passivity and discounting.
Yeah, so discounting, I'll make a start with discounting, and that is the internal mechanism which involves minimising or ignoring a situation, self or others, and by discounting it maintains our frame of reference and we don't have to challenge anything, we don't have to do anything. And we've got 4 levels of discounting. So we've got existence, significance, change possibilities and personal ability. And the examples that are given, so I've got here. So with these existence of something, what are you talking about?
Yeah, no problem.
What are you talking about? Significance, it's not a big deal. We were talking about, so I always say printers and passwords are my absolute nemesis. Like, I'm always going to get them wrong. I'm always going to add another exclamation mark to the password, and it's just going to be loads of exclamation. It just does my head in. And then also when it all switches, so then it's like my system changes, and they're like, oh no, you now need an extra capital. And it's like, oh, I was under a good system there. Whereas that really stresses, it doesn't stress me out, it frustrates me, but I get on with it. Whereas some people get really, really stressed by that. So for me to say, oh, it's not a big deal, to them, it is, it was, it has been. Change doesn't matter what I do. Doesn't matter what I do. So always the outcome is going to be the same. And personal ability. So there's nothing I can do about it.
Nothing I can do. It'll always end up being the same.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think of things that I discount. I think the significance. I very much underreact to situations, I think. Shrug my shoulders there. What does the body language expert say about shrugging my shoulders? Yeah, I definitely underreact. And I think that comes from having people look to me to see how I respond. So if it's a particularly stressful situation, I make attempts not to appear particularly stressed. It's no big deal. It's all right. We'll get it sorted. Because then if people react to my stress, then we've got 5 people that are stressed, and I don't see that as being helpful. So I think my go-to discount is the significance. What's yours?
Oh, I don't know if I necessarily then have a go-to. I'm trying to I can't really think of like oh yeah, I definitely go to that one. What I would say is the higher up you are discounting, the longer and potentially more difficult it's going to be for the problem to get sorted. So if you think like the highest level is that there's, the existence of a problem in the first place. So if you're denying, no, there's no issue, then it's going to take longer because you work through kind of then those different levels. And then you have to work back through in order to get off it and stop discounting and actually have a look at, maybe my frame of reality does need to change a bit because actually there is a problem here. So I'm not sure if I have one that I feel that I recognise myself more in. And actually what's interesting is what I'm then thinking is I wonder if I kind of maybe skip over 1 or 2 or even 3 to like, oh, there's nothing I can do about it. And I wonder if I've like very quickly gone from, oh yeah, there's no problem, it's not a big deal, nothing can change in the situation, to there's nothing that I can do about it. I'm not sure.
As you were talking, it's made me think about an alcoholic person with alcoholism.
Yeah.
And, we'll say like the person needs to recognise that they, like, the friends and family can't force that person to get the support or help. So if there is, what are you talking about? I haven't got a problem, doesn't exist, then that individual can't then, as you say, move through the levels. So that's what I was thinking about while you were talking. It does need to come, there needs to be an acknowledgement of the existence in order for anything to happen.
Yeah, and the alcoholic's probably a really good example because you can see how they could move through the levels. So they start off with, no, what are you talking about? I don't have a drinking problem at all. Or, all right, next level. Yeah, I like a drink, but it's no big deal. It's okay. To, well, nothing's going to change. Like, you know, and it doesn't need to change. It's all right. To, well, there's absolutely nothing I can do about it anyway. I'm stuck in this cycle of needing to drink all the time. So yeah, that's the alcoholic is probably quite a good example of discounting.
Yeah, just while you were talking then. Yeah, so that's I think we've solved me. I'm cured. I need to work on that one. So we've got discounting and passivity.
Passivity, yeah. So passivity is a term that we use within TA to describe when people put off doing something or they do it ineffectively. It can very often be the result of an unresolved dependency on other people. And it's demonstrated in 4 passive behaviours, and that we then call the passivity cycle. So I'm going to give an example with each the 4 passive behaviours. The examples I'm giving are sort of different situations each time, but the same person will work through the whole cycle. So the first stage of the passivity cycle is to do nothing. So instead of reacting what's going on around us, we remain passive and we do absolutely nothing. So example here, and this may well be an example from my own life because this is something that I am often too passive about. It's a beautiful summer's day. You've gone out to eat with friends. Because it's so nice, you've chosen a table outside, but it's hotter than you realised. And you can feel your skin starting to burn. You didn't put sun cream on before you went out, but you do nothing. You could ask to move to a table in the shade. You could ask if any of your friends have got sun cream. But even though the anxiety is building, you do nothing. And then the next passive behaviour, the next thing we move on to is overadaptation. And when we overadapt, we stop thinking about what it is that we want, and we instead adapt to the goals, the desires and the expectations of other people. And we do that because what we do usually pleases others in some way, and so we get loads of strokes for it. So my example here, I've got John and Julie, husband and wife. They've got really different tastes in TV programmes. So John loves a good true crime series, while Julie is hooked on period drama, and they usually take it in turns to decide what it is that they'll watch together. They're halfway through a really gripping crime series that John chose, and John is loving when a new period drama is released. Julie tells John she just cannot wait to get to the end of the series that they're on. Can they start the period drama now? And so John says yes, and they switch. And so even though this new series bores John almost to tears, he's getting loads of praise from Julie for being the best husband ever. So he's overadapted. And then agitation. So we then move on to this, agitation. So these are repetitive, non-purposeful activities. So it could be pacing the room, tapping your pen, bouncing your knee, smoking, chewing the end of your pencil. And what that does is helps us to relieve some of this inattention that's building up. So my example here, Anna's flatmate's learning to play the violin. My daughter wants to learn to play the violin. Oh, I wonder how I will move through the passivity cycle while she's learning to play the violin. So Anna's flatmate is learning to play the violin. And she's practicing while Anna's trying to get a really important piece of work done. But instead of asking her flatmate to practice later, or instead of Anna moving herself to a new location to work, she starts tapping her pencil on the table to relieve some of this tension that she is feeling from the fact that her flatmate is practicing the violin. And then the final passive behaviour is either incapacitation, where we implode, or violence, where we explode. So all that energy that has built up in the 3 previous phases is released in a way that either results in harm to ourselves or in harm to others. So, for example, Joe's team has become really unpleasant to work in. There's lots of bickering, lots of snide comments, and his manager barks orders at everyone. Joe suddenly develops a crippling migraine that keeps him off of work for 2 days due to the severity of his symptoms. And this is the danger with passivity, that a social issue, so something that we are not resolving in our social lives, can become a medical problem. So over 70% of the problems that GPs will see on a daily basis are due to unresolved problems at home or work. And passivity is often the root cause of some of these physical causes. So let's look at that a little bit more. So stress, it causes your heart rate to go up as well as your blood pressure. Contributes to accelerated respiration, rising blood sugar, slow digestion, and increased cortisol levels, all of which have the potential to weaken your immune system. And so doctors then don't have time to do anything in their consultation room other than treat the medical symptom. But the passivity and the social issue goes on.
Yeah, I can believe it. What was the stat? 70?
Yeah, like the over 70%
Over 70%.
of problems, that GPs see on a daily basis are due to unresolved problems at home or work and the physical manifestations that they're then causing.
And that's why knowing about TA is good, so we can try and reduce some of the stress, try and get out of some of the games, challenge our scripts so that we can navigate life without and recognizing what is my stuff, what is your stuff, and into the winner's triangle rather than the drama triangle, because I'm thinking about the drama triangle, huge stress levels there, like, and you could have that at home, work, when you go to the supermarkets and things, and just thinking about how some people are in that a lot, and I can see it doesn't surprise me.
And stress is a really funny old thing. Very often, like if I'm talking to clients about stress, like our brains and our bodies are amazing, but in a lot of ways they haven't adapted and don't realise that we no longer live in a world where we're being chased by saber-toothed tigers. And so our stress response can be completely disproportionate to the issue, because, we start to feel that threat. And that threat for us could be missing a deadline. Yeah. It could be that your train's late and you're going to be late for work. But our brain doesn't know that. And instead our brain thinks, threat, saber-toothed tigers hunting me down. So it absolutely floods our bodies with cortisol. And when our bodies are flooded with cortisol, in the short term, we quite literally cannot think straight. That's why people who are stressed shouldn't be making really important decisions, because if you think about it, the cortisol is then linked to your fight and flight response. Fight, flight, freeze, fawn. It doesn't want you to be thinking. It wants you to be acting, whether that's that you freeze or whether that's that you're running away from, whatever. So it doesn't want you to be thinking. So if we can't learn to bring our stress levels under control, then in the short term, we're going to keep making really poor decisions. But in the long term, that increase in cortisol can have so many physical impacts on your body.
What is it they say? Don't make a long-term decision on a temporary emotion.
Oh, I don't know that one, but makes sense.
Yeah. Don't make. So if you're mad, don't decide to buy a new car or something. I don't know. I'm sure there's better options, but don't make it. Don't make a long-term decision on a temporary emotion.
Yeah. Anything else that you want to add around passivity or discounting?
So what are we asking people's takeaways?
Homework.
Yes.
Homework. Is it weird that I get a little bit of a kick out of being like, so this is your homework? Maybe I'm
very good at giving people homework, even people that don't ask for it.
Yeah, I feel like I've missed a calling as a teacher. Although I wouldn't want to mark it.
No.
I'm really happy for you to pop it in the comments and let us know how it is that you're getting on with your homework. I don't want to be marking books and essays. That's not one for me. So homework for this week, as always, is to do some thinking. So thinking about where is it that you discount to maintain your frame of reference? Can you identify situations patterns there? Can you identify people that you're with where you discount in order to maintain that lens of the world that you currently have? And what about on the passivity cycle?
Overadaptation.
Can you recognize where you are on that passivity cycle? And then what can you do differently? Yeah, is that where you are? Overadaptation is Jen.
Yeah.
I'll do anything. Do anything. You're getting lots of strokes for it.
Yeah.
Other people find it really useful. Thank you so much, Jen, for bending over backwards.
Can you hear the resentment in my voice?
Yeah, absolutely. Which,
I was going to say, I'm not as bad as I used to be. Now I recognise, because I think I used to think it was compromise. And then I realised, no, this isn't. It just isn't compromise.
It isn't, no.
So yeah, that was the point where I spent a lot of my time.
And I wonder how much that is linked to you being a chronic recovery and rescuer as well. That you know that those link in quite well. That you're used to. Oh yeah, don't worry, I'll sort everything out, and yeah, I'll do everything that you want to do, and I get lots of praise for that. And you know, my feelings and things just don't matter.
Yeah, but then the thing is, once you are aware of these things as well, like my radar is, you know, I'm going to say I'm more sensitive to these things now. And I feel that the word sensitive has got a bit of a negative stigma because it's like, oh, you're too sensitive. You're too sensitive. But I'm more alert to these changes. And with us talking about our bodies as well, you know, as soon as I'm like, oh, I don't think I want to do that. Like, what's going on here? I'm now more responsive to that, which wasn't, I haven't been previously. So, yes, but the significance for me is my level of discounting go-to and my overadaptation. So when things go wrong and when there's lots of stress in my life, that's where I revert back to. So it does take effort to change and develop and to recognise these things. And we've said it in all of the podcasts as well, I think. Like, we're not saying it's easy.
No.
It's not easy.
No.
And it is an ongoing process. But yeah, that's my level. So where do you recognise it in yourself? And if it's too difficult to recognise in yourself, can you recognise these patterns in other people? Yep.
Start where it's easy and then build into you. Because it's only really you that we can change. As we say all the time. All the time.
You need it on a mug.
Merch. Next level. Okay, so thank you very much for joining us, and we do hope that you'll be back with us again next week where we'll be looking at contracting.